The library is open and I can't wait to spy on some book lives. My fellow nosies, let's see how messy this one gets. Titan of My Heart, and it's by Starlight. This one is about Titan and Bailey. They meet each other at Bailey's workplace. She's trying to get the contract with his company. She does marketing, and I think his company is like a tech company, if I remember correctly. So he approaches her business after speaking to a bunch of people who have loads of good things to say about how she works with marketing and how good she is. But it turns out that they had met like the night before. They didn't talk or anything like that. And after he meets her, he decides to move their meeting up because he wants to know if how he felt when he first saw her is how he still feels seeing her, like after he slept on it and that kind of thing. Bailey is going through a string of really bad dates. She's clearly looking for love, but nothing is really happening. I think she's doing like the internet dating thing, and it's just wildly horrible for her. That's what she wants, but at the same time, she doesn't want to mix any business with pleasure. That's what she says, but it seems to happen pretty quickly, so I don't know how hard she was really fighting the business and pleasure thing. Alright, let's move right on to the triggers. This one includes a assault. It's mostly off page because she doesn't really remember everything she blacked out, and we don't actually know really how far anything went. She does talk about it, so what she remembers does happen actually on page. Kind of feels a little bit like a flashback, but it's not really a flashback. There is also an abduction in this where someone gets kidnapped, and this review is going to contain spoilers. I'm going to try and keep it as light as possible, but I'm definitely going to be spoiling some things. I'm going to move on. I felt like Starlight writes Titan kind of like a woman, and by that I don't mean that he's actually a feminine man, because I don't think that he is. What I mean is that his inner thoughts are really kind of how you would see a woman's inner thoughts written. It feels like they're not from the perspective of a man. I probably felt this way more because his inner thoughts were quite close to Bailey's, especially in the beginning, and so I would get kind of confused and thinking that I might have switched like POVs and not realized it. Like I would be flipping back. No, it wasn't that. I was just reading his. There wasn't enough of a separation between the way that they both thought. His actions also seem to be a little bit caricaturish. Bailey at one point clearly needs medical attention and she's profusely bleeding. She won't stop bleeding. Her leg is swollen, her toes are swollen, she can't walk unassisted. He still gets distracted by her body and he's thinking about having sex with her. And okay, the sad part is I can actually see a man thinking this, which brings me to my next thought, which is when he doesn't sound similar to Bailey, he sounds kind of like a teenage popular kid athlete type trope or archetype. It means that he ends up not feeling very much like a real person. Although I said, yeah, I can imagine someone thinking that, I still feel like due to the injury and what was actually going on, I still think that this was over the top. This one is like insta love, but even insta love needs some build-up of chemistry, and I just don't feel that. There's no parts where you can really see that they're falling in love at all. There are also grammatical issues, mostly punctuation being in the wrong place, random words missed out, a space in between a whole word. So say the word is her, there'll be a H, a space, and then ER. I feel like we run into these types of things too often with these books. Get an editor, for goodness sake. Use Google Docs. I don't know. Use something that underlines your grammar. Use Grammarly. Do something. Okay. I also thought that with the commas being in incorrect places, it messed up sentences. I would read certain sentences a couple of times so that I could actually understand what it meant, because a comma in the wrong place can change the meaning of the sentence. That was a little bit annoying. I found both of these characters to be quite childish a lot of the times. They went from acting kind of like adults to acting like teenagers. It was just a little bit too all over the place where you couldn't even really place place? Who are they? How are they supposed to be acting? And I think that Starlight should have been thinking this as she was writing it. Who are they? What are their motivations? Would they act in this way? How would they react to this particular situation? I don't think she was asking herself that enough as she was writing this. And then I had a lot of problems with Titan's inner thoughts in particular. He, in his head, says when he shouts at Bailey, do you know what? He might not have used the word shout, because you know when you are perceiving things from a negative perspective, the words that you think were said become more, you know, on the aggressive side or whatever. So like maybe he didn't say shouted, maybe he said raised his voice. So you know what? I'm even going to be nice and I'm going to actually say he says in his mind whenever he raises his voice towards Bailey, she shuts down and she won't speak to him out of spite. He just decides it's spite and not a trauma response. And of course, not everything has to be like trauma and something extra when we're coming to novels, but Bailey is actually traumatized in this novel. She is dealing with trauma throughout the entire thing, so I think it's appropriate to say that here. And I'm also seeing this as a negative, even if we use the softest way that he was thinking it and we say like, oh, he was just raising his voice. I'm seeing this as such a negative because this comes directly after he sees Bailey with a man in a corridor. They leave and he says he's just going to go back into the party to just say goodbye to his family, and when he comes back she's in a state, she's crying and she's shaking, and he reaches out to her and she sort of jumps, like she sort of flinches. And in response to this, in his head he's like, oh, I was going to do all this nice stuff for her, I was going to rent her a bath, I was going to put candles there, I was going to massage her feet, but now I'm taking her ass home. It was just that is such a strange response to have in a situation like that. Like, you see your partner who before this was totally fine, you were having a great time, then you see her with someone and then she's now in this state and she can't even bear to be touched right now, and your response is, oh, I'm taking her home, like I would have done all this nice stuff but I ain't gonna be doing that now. That was wild. And yes, during this whole situation he does eventually ask her what's going on, but his inner thoughts have already betrayed his thought processes, and he even goes on to start thinking like, oh, she's never moved away from me like that before, and now she's going to be moving away from me. And he even says in his own inner thoughts, he says he's in his feelings about her moving away. So his main concern is not figuring out what is wrong with her, it's not tending to her being distressed and trying to figure out what is wrong, it's him being in his feelings because he felt entitled to touch her whenever he felt like it. And I'm sorry, even if you are in a relationship, even if you are in a long-term relationship, you do not have to consent to everything all the time. Sometimes I don't want to be touched. This was just wild that he was acting this way, and it's quite early on in their relationship at this point. At every point where he's had the chance to take care of her or figure her out, he chooses the most selfish option. When she's in need of medical attention, he's thinking about his deed. His girl is clearly distressed and he chooses to pout because she won't let him touch her. This is such childish behavior and major red flags. That's not to say that he doesn't do a nice thing here or there, but with these strange actions, he's looking more like a cautionary tale than a book bay. There's so many red flags. The vase smashing incident is one of many red flags that make me wish this wasn't the couple we were following. It's very abusive, and the fact that everyone is telling her to stay, that was the wildest thing. He smashes this vase in anger, punches walls, and she ends up with glass in her feet. She needs 6 stitches, and she ends up with glass in her face, and they say it will heal, but she'll probably end up having like a small scar. Obviously he didn't injure her on purpose. I'm not trying to say that he didn't do it on purpose, but she was right next to him and he didn't think at all about her safety in any kind of way. Yeah, it's just it's all around bad. Anyway, she goes to get it sorted out at the hospital and she tells the doctor, who also knows her, what had happened. And he says, like, you know, you shouldn't just throw your relationship away over nothing. You need to talk to him, and, you know, I see how much you guys look at each other and I can see the love there. It's so pure. Then her brother also tells her the same thing, and I found that to be so wild. Now, again, it doesn't exist in just this vacuum because her brother does mete out some justice, but he still tells her to go back. And I'm so concerned with that. What's worse, when he gets told to sort out his issues because of his anger and the way that he's reacting to things, his reaction is to, God, I can't even make this up. His reaction is to immediately order an engagement ring, and he decides he's going to propose. He doesn't do any work on himself. He doesn't try to fix any of his issues. He just decides that he's going to show that he's serious by proposing. And I don't really know how that is working on your issues. I don't know how that is going to show that you're serious about the relationship by just proposing right after such an incident like this, where she walks out and she says that she wants to leave him. He needs to sort his things out and not to call her until then. Now, this is not going to leave Bailey completely faultless at all, because her actions, they can also leave a lot to be desired, but Titan is really massively problematic. Her issues are really so small in comparison, in my opinion. Bailey wants to wait until she has children, but that doesn't happen. And I got the feeling that Titan knew what he was doing, because he says things like, oh, remember you had to stop taking your birth control because you were feeling sick. Oh, you know that you haven't had a period for 4 weeks. She hadn't made any connections like that. She clearly had forgotten about the whole birth control situation, and she also felt like she had irregular periods, so she didn't make the connection like that, and she didn't think it at all, but I felt like he did. And knowing that she didn't want to have kids so soon, he still decided to keep quiet and not mention anything like it to her, and kept shooting up the club. So it felt very intentional, and I didn't like that. Bailey wanted him to sort through his issues before trying their relationship again. Again, this doesn't happen, like I already said. I know she was also on some BS trying to run back to this guy after a week, but he never intended to fix his issues at all, in my opinion, because we don't see him make any steps. He even said he was only going to give her a week, and he had already bought a ring by this point. And he didn't even really give her the week, because he was actually constantly sending her messages for the first few days. And then he also, once the week was up, I guess, he also showed up to an event he knew she was speaking at in a professional capacity, and then he publicly asks her to marry him right after her speech while she's still on the stage. What? Bailey wants to wait to get married, but as soon as he proposes, he's already decided that a few months is more than enough time for her, and even pushes her on moving the date up, and everyone is right behind Titan, cheering him on. If a love like this ever finds someone that I love, I'm gonna help them book a counseling session and file a restraining order, because this is not normal behavior. This is not what we should be expecting from love. Neither of them really knew each other, in my opinion, either. You really don't see them getting to know each other, finding out those things about someone that makes you feel deeper love for them, because you get to know their personality, who they really are, and the things that they've gone through. And yes, they do both share a traumatic incident each with each other, but that's not really the basis of building love to me. Because of this, it feels like the added description of other events that are taking place is the only thing between this being called a novel and it being called smut. I would actually say it's smut with extra description. That's how it feels. A relationship that is fueled by lust and possessiveness and control. Moving on from that, there's a work event that goes down, and it's so ridiculously unprofessional. You've got audience members screaming things out. You've got keynote speakers throwing shade on other business owners responding with equal shade. What kind of professional event would this be allowed to just continue and go on like that? Man. It was feeling like the Houses of Parliament.
Shut up a minute!
Just ridiculously unprofessional. And then Titan's ex, Ava, coming back around and causing all this trouble really made no sense. In fact, she actually had a good reason to play nice, but she does the opposite anyway and continuously pisses people off that she needs and she could benefit from, but she just does the opposite at every turn, and it just makes no sense. I just don't understand her motivations. She doesn't even seem to have any self-preservation, because she goes as far as repeatedly pissing someone off that she thinks is a murderer and involved in the mafia, but she still keeps going up to them and saying all these random rude things. It's just, it's crazy. Now let's move on to what I liked. Starlight tried. This is her first novel. She tried, and I take that as a positive. Everyone has to start somewhere, and I don't believe in being naturally talented. I feel like even someone who you would consider to be talented works at their craft. So if she works at it really hard and she takes some writing classes or reads some books by authors on how to formulate and put together a book, then I think that she could eventually write something that I would like. And that sounds so shady, but I actually really do mean that. If she keeps at it, I would be able to pick up a book and have a completely different experience than what I had today. I picked this one up and it had like some really good reviews. People seem to respond well to it. So for the rating, I'm going to have to rate this one a 1 for all the reasons that I stated, and probably a few more. For the spice, this is the very first time ever that it's going to be rated unrated. I feel like I can't rate the spice. It's not even that there wasn't any, because like I said, this was verging on smut and there were some very spicy scenes, but the thing was there was too many of these scenes to the point of me even feeling annoyed that there was yet another one. It was like the opinion of Starlight is that sex equals love, so to me the scenes became distracting and so I couldn't enjoy them as part of the book. And on top of that, I felt like there were multiple scenes that felt like inappropriate, such as wanting to sleep with her when she needed medical attention. And at that time, they weren't even together. They had just sort of met, inviting her to like a professional event where he had actually planned in advance without telling her that he was going to sleep with her on the way there, knowing that she was going to be disheveled, and then he made no plans for that. Yes, she did consent to that, but it's the fact that he had planned it in advance, and afterwards he actually lets her sleep for like close to an hour, and you're telling me that he couldn't run to the shop so that she could at least have her hair looking good when she walked into the place. He was completely okay with allowing her to walk in there looking like trash. She had spent hours on her hair alone. She had spent hours getting herself ready, looking really nice, and he didn't even consider that. It sort of starts to taint the scenes, if that makes sense. You can't enjoy them because there's this extra layer of uncomfortable feeling towards what has happened. Anyway, she does end up fixing her hair, but she does that herself, and it's only because she just happened to have pins on her. And she's also slept on her hair too. Like, he knew, whatever. And finally, I can't ignore the fact that this feels more like a prequel to a full-on abuse novel and not a happily ever after. I just can't ignore all the red flags, and if Bailey was a real person, I would have been actually really scared for her. I'll just also add that we did get a time skip. It was an 18-year time skip. So yeah, they're still happily married, but in all honesty, if this was a real person, I just could not see this turning into a happily ever after type of situation. It's very sad that her family members and friends are all cheering on this relationship. I could not see the love. It was quite a disturbing read. I wouldn't read another Starlight book until she has a few more books under her belt, and I'd give her another try to see if she's rectified any of these types of things that I perceive to be issues. Now we're done. On to the next.